Welcome to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Marie, a courage coach, creative soul, and adventure seeker. Since through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 2019, I'm on a mission to help you embrace your most confident self so you can achieve your dreams too. If you're eager for deep conversations, big questions, and meaningful connections, join me on the quest to discovering how we can create a more magical and memorable life. Hello, nerds! How are you? I'm doing really good. I have been reading a lot of fiction lately. I take all of my free time to read on the balcony, my breaks, my evenings, and it's been very enjoyable and a really big success for me because for the last few years since I started my business, I have had a really hard time reading fiction, letting myself just read a novel felt like I was wasting time, right? I'm a big reader, I've always been, but I was like, well, I need to read books about coaching and books about business. Otherwise, it's, I'm getting behind and those novels are not useful. And I have had to realize that this way of thinking isn't sustainable. That we always need to make space in our daily life for things for the sake of them. Things that bring us joy just for the sake of joy, with no result in mind. And I've had many clients tell me that they struggle with this too, like just wanting to sit on the sofa and watch Tiger King or whatever show that they think is pointless without feeling a sense of guilt. Okay, I used to feel a sense of guilt at the idea of, just reading a romance novel while there's all these things I need to learn about business and about coaching. But I want to bring, and this is not today's topic, but I think it's important. I want to bring a different perspective, which is that in order to keep going, in order for what you're passionate about, which for me is my business and coaching, in order for your passion to maintain over time, you need to take care of yourself. You cannot use all of your free time to be productive. That's just not going to work. You're going to end up feeling neglected, feeling exhausted, feeling frustrated at everyone. And the reason's going to be because you didn't just take time to do nothing constructive. You might not feel it in the short term, but in the long term, it is going to show. You're going to build resentment if you don't give yourself that precious time. Okay? So the book I just finished was called The Paper Palace. It's so good. I don't think it's everyone's taste, but I love these kinds of stories where something happens at the beginning of the book, right? And the book spans the next 24 hours, whilst it's telling also the story of this 50 years old woman's life. So we keep going back between the present, like what's going on today in this 24 hours, going back to moments in her life that help us understand who she is. I love these kinds of stories that span over a long period of time. So definitely recommend it. But trigger warning, there's a lot of childhood trauma and and sexual abuse in there. So if you want to avoid reading about that, please avoid this book. But if you're in for a really well-written story set in like in a camp in nature, next to a lake in Cape Cod, then you're in for a treat. So anyway, I'm getting to the point. Bear with me. I'm coming to the crux of this episode. So after I finished this, there was a gaping hole in my book lover heart. Like, I just missed the book. And there was no other book on my shelves that was going to fill that hole. So I just wanted to go to the bookshop. Go to the bookshop to get another really good one. But going to the bookshop is, it's a thing for me. It's a ritual. It's a sacred ritual. I can't just like order a book online or spend 15 minutes at the bookshop. I need to go there and have like 2 hours, and I pick books that look interesting. I have a big pile, and then I sit in a corner and I look through the big pile and I make a decision. Usually what ends up happening is I'm going to choose like 3 or 4 books, going to take them home, going to read 2 of them, and then going to go to the bookshop again. Oh, that's just me. And that's not something I'm trying to fix. Anyway. So I wanted to, since I finished the book on Sunday, and it's been 3 days, I wanted to go to the bookshop. And part of me was like, I don't want to work. I just want to flip the desk, cancel everything that's been planned, and go off to the bookshop. Like a part of me was pouting, just annoyed at the reality of my work days, wanting to call it off and go to the bookshop. So this part of me is what I call the inner toddler. And that, my friends, is what I want to talk about today. Your inner toddler having tantrums and how to deal with that. Okay? Your inner toddler is the part of you that's like getting annoyed when things don't go as you want to. But getting annoyed in a way that's maybe a bit immature, showing resistance like a toddler would, like, no, I don't want to do this. Yes, we're going to eat ice cream for breakfast. Like, very hard-headed, moany sort of attitude. I even sometimes like self-pity. No, I shouldn't have to wash the dishes. That sucks. A bit entitled. Like, take me to the bookstore now. Or like, I remember one of my goddaughters telling me, like, it was before a Christmas party. I wanted to wear my black shoes, and she was 3 or 4 years old, and she said, no, you're going to wear the red shoes, and had a big fit about me not wanting to wear the red shoes on my own feet. That kind of thing that doesn't really make sense. So we all have an inner toddler. For some of us, the inner toddler is more present than others, but we all have them in us. Now, they're not the problem. The problem is our relationship with them. What I often see happening is 2 things. Either you're going to trap your inner toddler in the basement, or you're going to let it drive the car. Okay? And I'm going to go into both of these, and then we're going to explore what you could do instead in order to have a better relationship. And why that matters. Okay? So, first thing I see is trapping the inner toddler in like the basement and locking the basement door and throwing the key. Okay? And that's when you argue with your inner toddler and tell them to stop being a baby. Stop being a baby. That's just how it is. Okay, let's say your inner toddler doesn't want to go to work and you tell them, well, we have bills to pay. We have rent to cover. So shut up. Shut up now. And you lock the door. Okay? You push them down. The other alternative is that you let them take all the decisions. So let's say you've decided you want to exercise every day and your inner toddler disagrees because your inner toddler is motivated by fun and ease and comfort. So you let them win every time. Okay, you don't want to do it? Let's not do it. And both of these approaches, either trapping them in the basement or letting them drive the car, have disastrous results. Okay, I'm going to give you a real life example from when I was a camp counselor. And this is not a story I'm proud of, but it illustrates my point perfectly. Okay, so I had a camper who was afraid of butterflies. And it was time to go to sleep. It was time to go to sleep, and when the kids went to sleep, I would be, it was time for me to go hang out with my friends. And usually by the end of the day, I was exhausted. I didn't want to be with the kids anymore. I wanted to just relax with people my age. Okay, so they were just about to get to sleep when a butterfly appeared in the restroom, in the toilet. So this camper of mine, she freaked out. She got so scared. And I said something to her like, calm down, it's just a butterfly. There's no big deal. And I probably got rid of the butterfly. Actually, I shouldn't say butterflies, like those moths, like those creepy nighttime butterflies. They are, now that I look back on it, they are kind of disgusting and scary. Anyway, I dismissed how she felt about the butterfly. And she reacted to that. She went out the cabin and started hitting the windows of the other cabins in which there were other kids trying to fall asleep. So she was in her nightgown, hitting the windows, shouting that she wanted to go home. I don't remember quite how I handled that. I was just trying to keep her quiet, telling her, like, stop doing this, other kids are sleeping. Still dismissing how she felt. So it only escalated, and she said something like, fuck that, I am going home. So she started walking towards the exit of the camp. So I was following her. She didn't have shoes. She was barefoot in her nightgown at night, and she just left the camp. She was walking on the road. She just thought, I'm going to walk home. And I was just following her, wondering what to do. The story ended well. I told her, like, this is gonna take a while. Let's go back to the camp, call your mom so she can come and pick you up. Okay, so she agreed. I gave her my Crocs, and we walked back to camp. I put her in the hands of someone else who was better equipped to deal with that. It was actually the camp therapist. She took care of her while I just had a breakdown in a corner, right? So what happened when I dismissed her is that her stress response grew bigger and bigger and bigger. So she was in a fight response to the butterfly that she perceived as a threat, right? And by me not taking her seriously, her fight response just grew bigger and bigger and bigger until it was out of proportion. And this is what happens when you don't take your inner toddler seriously. Your inner toddler just wants to be reassured, just wants to feel safe, just wants to feel loved, just wants to be acknowledged, to be recognized. Okay? It's not always going to tell you in those words, but that's what your inner toddler wants. And if you try to trap your inner toddler in the basement of you, it's just going to push on the door harder and harder and harder. Or, I see that happening too, it's going to sit in a ball in a corner, and their sadness is going to feel very heavy in you. And that's often when depression comes around, because you've pushed a really important part of you way down. And that pressure is kind of like if you put a ball on water and you put it down in the water and you're trying to hold it there. Okay? That's not natural. When you let it go, it just bubbles back up to the surface. You cannot hold your inner toddler down in the water like this forever, because you're creating tension between you and a really important part of you, the part of you that's responsible for fun, for joy, for wonder, and all those childlike qualities. They are what makes life special. So we don't want to break our relationship with this part of us, okay? Before I go into what to do instead, I want to give you other examples of what it looks like when and what's the result when you let your inner toddler drive. When you let it make all the decisions, you're probably gonna be dancing at the start line, like the coach Brooke Castillo says. Every time something gets challenging, you're going to drop it and you're going to chase what's fun. Chase what's one thing after the other without ever deepening, without ever going through tough times. Okay? Because this requires a different part of you. Going through tough times requires a different part of you. And if you let your inner toddler make all the decisions, if you leave it up to your inner toddler, we're gonna just keep things light all the time. And so if a relationship gets tough, if you need to have a conversation, just gonna have a conversation that might feel uncomfortable. You're just gonna have a tantrum, break up, and move on to something else that's easy. Okay? So this is the result of letting your inner toddler be in charge of your life. And I mean, that it's understandable to give in to the inner toddler, because it's pretty convincing. Like when my goddaughter was crying about me not wanting to put the red shoes on, I was tempted to put the red shoes on so that she would stop screaming and crying. I was very much tempted. It would be very easy to calm her down. Just put the red shoes on. But what happens is that she learns, okay, when I cry and I scream, I win. And that creates a pattern that can be very challenging to break. It's the same exact thing with ourselves, with our own inner toddler. If we always give them what they want right when they want it, when they have a tantrum, then you condition yourself to give in every time a part of you doesn't want to keep going because it's too difficult. So, what we want to do instead is change our relationship with our inner toddler. We want to become the loving parent of this part of us. And what that looks like is first acknowledging them. And acknowledging them doesn't mean agreeing to what they want. It means seeing them, looking at them in the eyes, and saying, I hear you, and trying to understand where they're coming from. I hear you. I know you want to go to the bookshop. And then co-creating together. So you understand their desire, but you also are the responsible parent who has a big picture perspective. Okay, I know you want to go to the bookshop, that you're really excited about going to the bookshop. Here's what we need to do today. Here's where we could go. We could make space tonight. Right after this thing we're doing at 5, you see? We have time, okay? So as soon as I'm done doing this task, we're going to go to the bookshop, okay? And it's going to be great because we're going to have finished our day and we're going to be able to spend as much time as we want browsing the bookshelves, okay? And that's what having more of an being an ally with your inner toddler looks like. So you're still the grown-up, okay? And you get to decide what makes sense, but you're not making them feel like they don't matter. And you're also not letting them be the boss of everything. You have respect for them and you have respect for yourself and where you want your life to go. Let's say your inner toddler doesn't want to go into work because you don't like your job. You have a 9-to-5 corporate job and you are thinking about starting a business because that sounds really fun to you, and your inner toddler just wants to drop everything now, stop going into work because you don't care anymore about your job. Okay. You don't want to tell them to just suck it up. We have bills to pay. Like, we can't quit right now. You also don't want to just listen to them quit and be in financial trouble. You want to be a loving parent or an ally. And what that looks like is saying, like, I understand how you feel. And I agree that this job really sucks sometimes. Really understand. And I also want to be full-time on my business. I also think that looks more fun. And here's why I decided to stay in this job for another 6 months. Okay? I don't necessarily expect you to agree, but here's why I think this makes a lot more sense for us. Makes sense for us because it's going to give us the money to create a stable foundation for this transition, and that it's going to make this transition so much more enjoyable. So I understand that it pisses you off to go into work right now, but trust me when I say I want the same thing as you do, and I'm working on that. And this is just an example, right? You're going to go in with your own words. But the key here is to really make them feel seen and understood. Explain where you're coming from. Co-create together. And keep in mind that you remain the authority, but you love them and they matter to you and you understand where they're coming from. And sometimes it's okay to also let them win. It's kind of like if you're a kid, let's say you're a parent a real parent, and your kid doesn't want to go into school because it's summertime and it's super sunny outside. You might say, you know what? No, let's not go to school. Let's go to the water park instead. And that's going to be really fun and we're going to create memories. That's okay too. There would be nothing wrong with me saying like, oh, you know what? I'm going to clear my agenda this afternoon and I'm going to go spend hours at the bookshop. That's fine. As long as I'm making a conscious, thoughtful decision. That it's not just like, I want you to stop screaming, so let's do it. No. It's been reflected upon. And there will also be moments where your inner toddler you won't be able to reason with them. And the best that you're going to be able to do is just seeing them. Just like, I know you're upset right now, and that's okay. Just be upset. Just be upset. Let's say you don't want to give your kid Fruit Loops for dinner every night, and they get really, really upset, then it's okay. I understand that you're upset. You might not go into like why it's important to eat vegetables, and because when your inner toddler is upset, they're not ready to be reasoned with. They might not ever be ready. They just need to feel seen and to be allowed to feel whatever they are feeling, no matter if it makes sense or not. Okay? So let yourself feel your feelings, even if you think, I shouldn't be feeling this way. This is so immature. No. There's no feeling that's too immature. There's nothing you shouldn't feel. If you feel a certain way, let yourself feel it. Don't take action from there. But hold space for you to feel however you feel. If you're super angry at the fact that you have to go into work because you have rent to pay or a mortgage to pay, that's fine. You can allow yourself to be angry. I'm not here telling you to just pep yourself up. No. Pepping yourself up is just another equivalent of trapping your inner toddler in the basement, okay? It's just ignoring what you need. Let's say you need freedom and creativity, which you don't have in your job. It's just ignoring what you need and trying to cover it up with fake positivity. That is also trapping your inner toddler in the basement. Just be happy. Just be happy. It's fine. It's going to be fine. That is not what this is about. You want to make a real effort trying to understand how that part of you feels and allow them, again, to feel this way. Do your best to understand yourself. And understanding doesn't mean agreeing. Right? Understanding is just allowing. And allowing brings so much relief. I'm allowed to feel however I feel. It doesn't need to make sense. And then from there, so much healing can come. You're going to feel all of your muscles calm down. It's like I can be whoever I want to be, even if it's weird sometimes, even if it goes against everything I know. Okay? So if I summarize, there's 2 steps here. Really trying to understand and hold your inner toddler in love. Give them the space. And then you cannot skip step number 1. Cannot skip it. We tend to be in a rush and want to go straight to the solution, but that doesn't work. Okay, step 1. Then step 2 is see, okay, what can we do? How can we compromise? What makes sense for me as the grown-up that would also honor, in some way, my inner toddler's feelings? What can we do with that? Okay? You cannot go, and I insist, straight to step 2. If you go straight to step 2 to trying to fix it, it's just like me with the butterfly. Look, I killed the butterfly. We're good. No, you're skipping over something that matters and is going to come back in your face. So that's it for today. Please reach out if this resonated with you, tell me about your inner toddler, how you've been, what your relationship with them has been like. I'm really curious to hear about the insights that came from this episode. So just find me on Instagram, Self-Growth Nerds, and send me a DM. I love to hear from you. And if this episode resonated with you, I want to encourage you to go by the workshop I hosted last weekend about how to maintain momentum for long-term goals. It's called Motivation Mimosa, and you can watch the recording. We talked about this and how this applies to maintaining your motivation when you're trying to achieve a big goal, okay? Because parts of you, like your inner toddler, can get in the way of you achieving your goals, and I'm going to teach you how to make sure that that doesn't happen so that you can keep making progress in a way that feels good, lighthearted, and fun. Okay, so that's it for now. Have a beautiful week. I hope you read some good books. By the way, if you haven't downloaded my book list, I put together a list of 30 of the 30 best self-growth books, and you can download that via my Instagram. There's the link in my bio. There's a button there. It's really cool, and it's like a wine and cheese pairing. So every book comes with a podcast episode that you can listen to, and there's like a rating, a 5-star rating, and a description. It's really complete, and you'll be able to go back to the list again and again for book ideas over the years. So go download my book list. All right, have a beautiful week, my friends. Bye-bye. You just listened to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. Make sure to subscribe and to find me on Instagram at Self-Growth Nerds. If you want individual help developing the confidence to create a more meaningful and exciting life, visit selfgrowthnerds.com today to learn how. Finally, I want to thank my friend Etienne Galano for editing this, and I want to thank you, kind-hearted souls, for growing into your truest, most courageous selves every day and making this world a better, more beautiful place. My name is Marie, and I will talk to you next week.